So glad you can join us streaming at WIFR, where we are striving to bring you as much original content we can to provide you news on the go wherever and whenever you need it. I'm WIFR morning anchor Mike Garrigan, and this is a perfect example of content you can't find anywhere else. It's a regular Thursday segment we're calling The Issues that you'll be able to find each and every week. It allows us to give you an in-depth look at policies, politics, and individuals that are worth focusing on in the state line. Today, we will talk about the upcoming Illinois governor's race. The general election is not until November, but the primary will be held on March 17th, while early and mail-in voting begins 2 weeks from today, February 5th. So today I wanted to break down the governor's race. That includes a look at current Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's running for a third term, and who are the best possibilities standing in his way. We'll look at what appears right now to be Pritzker's biggest challenge, former downstate lawmaker Darren Bailey, in what would be a rematch of the 2022 race. We'll look at the county-by-county results of that election and past elections to see what the best paths to victory are. And you'll hear from both candidates on a variety of issues going head-to-head, not the 15-second sound bites, but a little more extended. And you can decide which candidate best matches your values. We'll also look at other candidates that may be considered long shots now, but still have time and now an avenue to state their case. But first, let's start with the current governor, J.B. Pritzker, who will try to join Republican James Thompson as the only Illinois governors to serve longer than 2 terms. Pritzker announced his candidacy with this video released 6 months ago.
I'm standing here at the center of Illinois. And these days, Illinois is standing at the center of the fight to make life more affordable, the fight to protect our freedoms, the fight for common sense. In every corner of our state, I see people who want stability, who want the chance to get ahead, who want a fair shot. But in Washington, all they're offering is chaos and craziness. Their tariffs are hurting farmers and small businesses. They're stripping away health care from seniors and working families and proposing even bigger deficits than before, all to give big tax breaks to the wealthy. Well, here in Illinois, we've taken a different path. We balanced 7 straight budgets and got 9 credit upgrades. We raised the minimum wage, capped the cost of insulin, banned assault weapons, protected abortion rights, and eliminated the state grocery tax, lowered prescription drug costs, and added tens of thousands of jobs. We don't just talk about problems. In Illinois, we solve them. Because we know government ought to stand up for working families and be a force for good, not a weapon of revenge. Donald Trump's made clear he'll stop at nothing to get his way. I'm not about to stand by and let him tear down all we're building in Illinois. I'm running for re-election to protect our progress and continue solving the problems we face. I love this state, and it's the honor of my life to serve as your governor, to help lead through the most challenging of times and celebrate the most joyful ones together. I'm ready for the fight ahead. So whether you're at the center of Illinois or anywhere else, join me. Let's keep Illinois moving forward.
So how popular a governor is J.B. Pritzker? That appears to depend a bit on where you live, but overall, a conservative leading firm called Victory Research conducted a poll around Thanksgiving. That gave Pritzker a 52.2% approval rating, while 40.9% disapprove, which is pretty much an exact flip on the approval rating for President Trump in Illinois in that same Victory Research poll. It's also about 1 to 2 points higher than Pritzker had leading up to the 2022 election. But Pritzker is underwater on several key issues, including crime, taxation, and immigration. So you can expect his opponents to run ads attacking the governor specifically on those issues. Pritzker's best favorable ratings come on issues like education, infrastructure, and state spending. Of course, Pritzker beat Darren Bailey in the 2022 election by about a 55 to 42% margin, but that didn't deter the former Illinois state senator from Louisville, Illinois, to give it a go again in 2026, releasing this ad in September.
People often ask, why leave my farm, a place that I love so much, to run for governor? Well, the answer is simple. Because working families across Illinois are struggling. People can't afford gas in their cars. They can't afford groceries on their tables. They can't afford their electric bills. Property taxes keep climbing, and Springfield keeps adding tax after tax. Friends, I'm running because we've all had enough of the nonsense. I know there is hope for Illinois, and I know that we can do better. As your governor, I'll fight to lower taxes and put the people of Illinois first. We'll restore our economy with good-paying jobs. We will repeal the Safety Act, and we'll stand with law enforcement to make our communities safe again. We'll create opportunities so that our students can build their futures right here at home. Life in Illinois must be better, and it can be. Friends, I want to introduce you to my running mate, Aaron Del Mar. He is a fighter who can help unite our party and our state.
I'm Aaron Del Mar, and I'm teaming up with Darren Bailey to stand with you as we take Illinois back. Working families across our state need someone fighting for them, fighting to lower taxes, cut electric bills, demand safer communities, and bring opportunities close to home. Together, we're building a ticket that can win in the North and in the South, in the city and in the country. A ticket that fights for you and doesn't apologize.
Together, with your support, we will win in 2026 and restore hope and opportunity to our state.
Of course, tragedy struck the Bailey family a month later when the Republican gubernatorial candidate lost his son, Zach, daughter-in-law, Kelsey, and 2 grandchildren in a Montana helicopter crash. A month after the crash, Bailey released a video announcing his commitment to stay in the race. I will show you now part of that announcement, also reaction from Governor Pritzker a day after the crash.
The last 2 weeks have been the hardest days of our lives, but your prayers, your messages, and your love have carried us, and we are so grateful. Our son Zach and his wife Kelsey lived with faith and purpose. They worked hard, served others, loved their family and community. That's the kind of strength that we're holding on to right now, and it's what keeps us moving forward.
Our family has always been our bedrock. This hasn't been easy, but we want everyone to know that Finn is surrounded by love from our family and from Kelsey's family. And we're so grateful he's being cared for every single day. He's tough, he's full of faith, and he reminds us every day what really matters. We want him to grow up in a place that his parents would be proud of, and we're going to make sure he does.
This tragedy changed our family forever, but it also reminded us why we fight. Zach and Kelsey believed in an Illinois where families could build a future without being crushed by bad government and broken promises. They believe this state could do better. So do we. After a lot of prayer and reflection, Cindy and I have decided we're staying in this race for governor. Not for politics, but for every family trying to make it in a state that's lost its way.
Some of you may know that he lost his son, his daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren in a helicopter accident in Montana yesterday. And I cannot imagine losing a child, losing 2 grandchildren, and what they must be going through. That's all I can say. I have expressed publicly already my condolences, my wife's condolences, and we're devastated by it. This is not a time for politics. This is just a time to recognize that losing a child is, I don't know, one of the hardest things ever. My grandmother lost her daughter, my mother, when she was an adult. My grandmother's still alive, and it was her only daughter, and she was devastated by it. My grandfather on my father's side lost his son, my father, at an early age, and he was devastated by it, my grandmother and grandfather. And so I know, I've not experienced it, thank God, but I know what they must be going through.
One criticism Darren Bailey has leveled on J.B. Pritzker is that he is more concerned about running for president in 2028 than he is governor in 2026. He pointed to Pritzker's frequent appearances on national news programs and talk shows. Earlier this month, Pritzker was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, talking about why a billionaire would ever want to get into politics. While that next day, Bailey was in Springfield in what was dubbed a blueprint for Illinois speech. Here's a sampling from each.
I know you lost your father when you were young. I lost my father and my mother when I was young, and my mother was my hero. I mean, she really was. And she was an activist, an advocate for reproductive rights. I mean, long before, frankly, it was commonplace, the 60s and the early 70s. And when I was growing up, she took me to all the rallies and the marches, and I absorbed a lot of her enthusiasm. And so I have to say that I think you know this, that when you lose a parent when you're young, during your lifetime, you're hoping to in some way honor them, and in fact to fulfill something that they may have wanted to do during their lifetimes. And so standing up for people's rights and making sure that we're making life more affordable, raising the minimum wage, protecting people from the onslaught of somebody like Donald Trump, that's something my mother would be out doing right now. And so I'm very proud.
The status quo is not sustainable, nor is it acceptable. This plan establishes a clear standard. No family should be required to pay more in property taxes than their mortgage payment. It caps annual property tax increases and requires the state to meet its responsibility to fund education fairly. This will reduce reliance on local property taxes and unfunded mandates. Homeownership should provide stability and security, not uncertainty. Affordability does not stop at the front door. Families and small businesses alike are being squeezed by rising utility costs. Month after month, people open their bills and wonder how costs keep climbing with no transparency and no accountability.
We were able to get both candidates on the record when it comes to the same certain issues and current events. So let's hear directly from them, giving each about the same amount of time. First, they both had a chance to publicly comment on the fatal ICE shooting of Renee Good in Minneapolis.
Illinois has gone through this with ICE and CBP before. Silverio Gonzalez, a father and community member, was shot and killed by ICE in Franklin Park last September. These agents are not being deployed to promote safety. They do not have the proper training. And just as in Illinois, the Department of Homeland Security immediately launched a campaign of lies and propaganda in Minnesota to justify their actions. They didn't conduct an investigation, and they're not going to. They didn't express any remorse or sympathy for the mother that they killed. They ran straight to Fox News and they started lying. Kristi Noem and Donald Trump have told Americans to disbelieve clear, indisputable video evidence. It is harrowing. It is unimaginable to think that this can happen in our country, or that when it does happen, the government immediately tries to cover it up. It should anger you.
You know what? This last 3 months has completely opened my eyes up. I've never had to experience death as I have. So I can say that more than ever, it breaks my heart when anyone loses their life. None of this should be happening if state government would be upholding the law. If we were doing this in Illinois, they were doing it in Minnesota, federal government would have no need to be there. This should have been taken care of. And since it wasn't, now we've escalated to the point that we're at. A life was lost and it shouldn't have been lost.
Minnesota and Illinois were 2 of 5 blue states that the Trump administration froze approximately $10 billion in federal welfare and child care funding. The others were California, Colorado, and New York. The administration cited concerns of potential fraud, particularly to Minnesota's child nutrition program, as the reason for the frozen funds. Here are both candidates' reaction to that.
There is no specific allegation of any fraud against the state of Illinois. There's been no investigation that the federal government has yielded some evidence to come forward about any of it. And note that they picked 5 states to cut off funding for. All of them are run by Democratic governors that he doesn't like. And so it's clear this is political. This isn't about going after fraud. This is simply about politics for Donald Trump and attacks on people that he disagrees with.
I think the Pritzker administration is guilty of not working with some of the laws, the bylaws that exist in making that happen. It's, again, what's it revolve around? It revolves around transparency. No one knows, the federal government doesn't know where that money is going. They suspect that it's not being used appropriately. So again, where's the Pritzker administration stepping up to say, hey, I'm going to go sit down with the president and we're going to work that out, because that is money that Illinois needs desperately. But I put that full blame on J.B. Pritzker that we don't have it instead of President Trump.
As one of Bailey's blueprint for Illinois actions, he promises to implement an Illinois Department of Government Efficiency office similar to Elon Musk's National Doge Initiative after President Trump won the 2024 election. Here's both of their responses to that topic.
I mean, let's look at this past year, $2.5 billion magically surfaced to take care of people here who were here illegally and give them their health insurance, to feed them, to house them, yet we ignore our own citizens. Just recently, $1.5 billion was pulled from the highway and the roads to bail out Chicago Transit Authority. I mean, that's just a tip of the iceberg. You know as well as I do, when we delve in to this 3,000 to 5,000 page document called the budget, that some of that literature and wording has existed for years, it needs to be broke down, it needs to be audited, it needs to be opened up so that people know where their money's coming from. I am very confident there are going to be a lot of waste discovered in that.
Well, I know that there are some potential Republican opponents of mine who are suggesting that that's necessary at this moment. Even though he served in the legislature, I don't know if he noticed there is an auditor general that exists in the state of Illinois, and we constantly get audited. And by the way, we have a very robust system of oversight checking in on the child care centers across the state of Illinois. So what he's suggesting is redundant, and I don't think anybody in Illinois thinks that we ought to do what Elon Musk did to the federal government in the state of Illinois with something like Doge.
We will get to some other candidates in the Republican primary in just a moment, but polls right now show Darren Bailey as a front runner to get that rematch. So let's look at that 2022 election to get a better idea of what needs to happen for Bailey to have a chance to erase those deficits. Looking at the 2022 map, it had Pritzker winning just 12 of 102 counties, but still winning by 13% of the vote. How can that be? Well, Pritzker won Cook County by nearly 50 points, and Cook County is not only Illinois' largest county, but it is also about the same amount of voters as 2nd through 15 largest counties combined. And Pritzker won 11 of those 14 counties. Here's a look at the top 15 counties and how the vote went in 2022. You can see Pritzker won all of the 5 largest Illinois counties, with the top 3 populated counties all by margins in the double digits. The 2 largest counties to vote for Bailey in 2022 were number 6 McHenry and number 7 Winnebago, which flipped to Republican from the 2018 race. But you can see those margin of victories were by just 4 and 2 points respectively, amounting to just 6,200 extra votes. Of the top 15 counties, you can see that the suburban St. Louis-Madison County is where Bailey performed best, winning by a little more than 16 points. But in the 11th through 15th most populated counties, several were very close, but Bailey took just one of those counties and by just more than 1% of the vote. History suggests a Republican must win virtually all of these 5 counties, or at the very least 4 of the 5 to win the governorship. Okay, now let's take a look at the 5 counties in our viewing area. As you can see, all won by Bailey and but Winnebago County by a very healthy margin. But if you add all of that up as an advantage of 15,500 votes for Bailey in the counties of our viewing area. And as you can see here, all of those gains are negated just by Pritzker's win in Kane County alone by about 16,000 votes, where he won by just 9% of the vote. To show you the uphill climb for the GOP candidates in Illinois, this is the county-by-county map of the last Republican victory in a gubernatorial election. It happened in 2014 when Bruce Rauner won 101 of the 102 counties, the lone exception, of course, being Cook County. Yet Rauner's margin of victory over incumbent Pat Quinn was still less than 4% of the vote. The 4 Republicans to reach the governor's mansion in the last 50 years are Rauner, George Ryan, Jim Edgar, and James Thompson. All are considered very moderate Republicans, and only Jim Edgar was not from the Chicagoland area. He was from Charleston, but he had a big following in the area as James Thompson's right-hand man. Virtually all of the other Republican candidates outside of Bailey are from the Chicagoland area. That includes Ted Dabrowski, who actually so far has outfunded Bailey, raising $1.2 million, according to Capitol News. He's a former businessman and leader of conservative research publication wirepoints.org. Here's a video he released in September announcing his candidacy.
Hello, my name is Ted Dabrowski, and I'm running for governor because in Illinois, we can do better. And I know we can do better because I've seen the opportunities this state can provide. My own parents immigrated to Chicago in 1960. My father escaped communist Poland, and my mother left Ecuador as a 19-year-old. They met on the L, and they began weaving their version of the American dream right here in Illinois. And they achieved it. Their sacrifices allowed me to make my way through college, earn an MBA from Wharton, and embark on a successful international career at Citibank. I gained an even deeper appreciation for America as a young banker in Mexico, where I helped that country innovate and expand its financial markets to more fully integrate into the global economy. I then moved to Eastern Europe, where for 9 years, I helped a post-Soviet Poland reform its economy, raise its standard of living, and expand opportunity. Today, Poland has become one of the world's most dynamic countries because they restored individual freedom, resurrected the private sector, and tore down the barriers to entrepreneurship. I'm proud to have played a role in Poland's transformation. It's amazing how the right policies turned what was the poorest country in Europe into an economic powerhouse. Fast forward to today. For more than 15 years, I've been championing pro-freedom, pro-growth reforms for Illinois, a state headed in the wrong direction. Illinois has become an extreme national outlier in taxation and quality of life because of the poor policies imposed by our politicians. And that's why I'm running for governor.
Another Republican candidate is real estate developer and Gold Run Gaming founder Rich Heidner, who had previously been a generous and bipartisan donor for years, including substantial donations to Aurora Republican Mayor Richard Irvin, current Chicago Democrat Mayor Brandon Johnson, and Illinois Senate President Don Harmon. Billionaire Richard Uihlein had been Darren Bailey's biggest donor by far in 2022, but he is throwing his money and support behind Heidner this year. Here's a campaign video from Heidner released within the last 48 hours.
I'm Rick Heidner. I grew up with nothing, raised by a single mom. We barely survived, but it taught me the value of hard work and the value of a dollar. Today, I own successful businesses that have created hundreds of Illinois jobs. Now, I'm putting all of that on hold to take on J.B. Pritzker. He's made our neighborhoods unsafe and Illinois unaffordable for working families. I'm going to defeat him, but I need your help. Let's do this together.
And the final candidate who took part in the GOP debate last Thursday in Chicago is DuPage County Sheriff James Mendrick, who in June announced he would not enforce Illinois' assault weapons ban, calling it aimless and unconstitutional. As the sheriff of the state's second most populous county, Mendrick argues it proves his viability in the race and is a greater appeal in Chicago's collar counties compared to the other GOP candidates. He has not yet released anything similar to a campaign launch video on social media or his website. Okay, let's end now this with a recap of key dates in the 2026 Illinois elections. Early and mail-in voting for the primary begins again 2 weeks from today, February 5th. The last day to register to vote is February 17th. The primary is 1 month after that on March 17th. And the general election for the governor's race and all the congressional seats and all the other elections is Tuesday, November 3rd. So that's our comprehensive deep dive of the governor's race. If you found it to be informative and maybe helpful, be sure to tell others to download the WIFR streaming app and check it out. And be sure to tune in next Thursday. Wherever you stream WIFR, we'll take a look at Illinois' pension problem, not only how we got to the most underwater pension liability by a long run in the country, but also how we can